Welcome to Free Speech Friday. If you're just getting in here, this is our old series that any of the real OGs, if you were here for the original Free Speech Friday series, way back when I lived in Bellingham and was analyzing documents that seem very relevant right now, like the dancing Israeli FBI files, the 5-Star Trust documents, a couple of others. That series was a total banger. It was a ton of fun. And I used to do it on X. But I kind of like doing it in a more focused place like YouTube, like Twitch, where people are hanging out for the whole stream. X is a lot of in and out. Because I like to, I like this format for digging deep into an idea and teasing it out and kind of doing everything live. And we've been on this theme of the Charlie Kirk assassination. What happened? What are they telling us? Why are they lying to us? What's the big conversation around Israel? How does that relate to Charlie Kirk? How does that relate to our lives? And I think this is going to kind of be our last Free Speech Fridays installment directly focused on this for now. Got a whole bunch of other things to do. I'm going to make a whole video about Charlie Kirk and about the campus and use all my footage. That'll be out probably in a week or two. But the conversation took a decided turn this week as Tucker Carlson came out and held nothing back. Tucker Carlson had his own Free Speech Friday, 2 days ago on October 1st. And oh boy, did Tucker say some things. We're going to watch a little bit of his show, comment on it. We'll watch a little bit of the most recent Turning Point USA event. Don't mind me. And we'll see where that takes us. Because I love Tucker. I love everything he stands for. I've got a ton of respect and admiration for him. And he's way smarter than me in so many ways. He's way better at this than me. But he is older than me. Hence why he's smarter and better at this than me. But being older right now also comes with a ton of intellectual baggage, particularly around the Israel conversation. And the fact that Tucker is coming out and saying what he's saying and being relatively unhinged, so to speak, to his audience from his mouth is huge. It's so huge. It's so different when someone like Tucker or Joe Rogan or, I don't know, these sort of like more legacy folks, when they speak up about it, it feels like it holds more weight because of all of the time in the game, because of all the connections, because of all the care they take with it. And I admire the care that Tucker takes with it. But tonight we're going to be a little more careless, though not reckless, but free in our speech. And we might as well do the disclaimer. We might as well do another disclaimer. It's still 2025. I'm sure that our speech is about to get very censored, which we will talk about. So let's do a disclaimer. I hold no hate towards any group of people. And I judge people as individuals, not as groups of people. Obviously, I'm talking about Jewish people when I'm making this disclaimer, but the same applies to all people. And I love how Tucker is elucidating the Christian nature of that concept and how fundamental that is to the American way of thinking and living. But it is important to be intellectual and to use your brain. And one of the things our brains are best at is noticing patterns and recognizing when things are linking up and solving problems. And right now we have a problem, and I think a lot of us see a pattern. And so 40 hours of driving from Utah Valley University to the southernmost tip of Florida has me thinking some thoughts and feeling some ways. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So let's F up our whole screen here and let's bring display up. So we're going to start very briefly at the beginning, and we're going to play it a little fast. And then we'll roll into some of the specific statements that he made. I'm really stoked, by the way, that Tucker is sort of back to doing his older format that is like a monologue and then an interview, sort of like he used to do on Fox News, because I missed Tucker's monologues. And having Tucker monologuing again has been the gift that just keeps on giving. Let's see if we get
There's
this
a lot going on
in
in the world right now, but if you're on social media, and of course you are, because it's really America's only remaining news source, you know there's only one story going on, and it's Israel. Everyone online is arguing about Israel, and really they fall into one of two camps, generally speaking. So probably the more aggressive side are the deranged Taliban-level ethno-narcissists who are telling you that any criticism of the secular government of Israel is tantamount to blood libel against the Jewish people. And if you think that maybe it was not a great idea to arm Joseph Stalin, the greatest murderer in history, then you're a Holocaust denier. Shut up. And then on the other side, a group every bit as obsessed with Jews are the people who hate Jews, who are telling you that anyone who's Jewish is bad by virtue of being Jewish. It's a blood thing. Two things are interesting. One, there are very few kind of conventional Christian voices saying, wait a second, this is a secular government, another country, and it has probably nothing to do with my religion or anybody's religion. And we should never judge people on the basis of their immutable qualities, because guilt and virtue are not passed down genetically. But almost no one is saying that. So you really have the ethno-narcissists and the anti-Semites, and they're at war with each other.
Okay. Man, I'm going to have to try to hold back so many snarky jokes that are not appropriate right now. You're right, Tucker. Everyone is talking about Israel, and it's pretty vitriolic. And I love you, bro, but I think that we can all push back on that statement just a little bit and say that there is a lot of people in between those two categories. A lot of people in between those two categories. Very few people in real life right now in America are actually Israel sycophants. There are many of them, many of them, but it is not as many as it would seem if you live on X. But the inverse of that is this statement about the anti-Semites. The crazy people, the lunatics. Let's be real, guys. The vast majority of people that are talking about Israel, that are talking even about Judaism and about Jewish people in America, most of them are not anti-Semitic. Most of them are trying to have a good faith discussion and actually dig apart what's going on here. Because there is a piece of this conversation that is about Judaism and Jewish people, and it's uncomfortable. And it's very complicated, but that part of the conversation is very real. And it's not, you're not anti-Semitic just for engaging with that conversation. You're anti-Semitic if you judge in a racial way that all people of a race, Jewish people, are bad or evil or whatever, just because they're Jewish. There are some of those people out there. And honestly, I would encourage everyone to engage in conversation with them like a real human, just like you should engage with someone that's shilling for Israel like a real human, because they are real people. And there's, in most cases, not all, in most cases, these are true opinions that you need to converse with people to change their minds or to understand their minds. You might not change them. But I don't think Tucker's trying to, claim that everyone is evil and I don't think he's trying to say that I'm like an anti-Semitic evil bigot, for example, if I was the example there. But he's just drawing a dichotomy and orating. But it is worth pushing back that there's way more going on here, and most people that are being labeled anti-Semites are just trying to have a good faith intellectual conversation about what's best for our nation and about what the heck is going on out here. Okay.
That's the online picture. What's even more interesting...
There's a lot of... we could honestly watch this whole freaking show. It's great. But we're going to jump a little ways ahead here to when he starts turning up the heat.
Humiliated, spied upon, bossed around by the child, by the person in the inherently subordinate position. You can't do that. You can't be shamed into ignoring things that are quite clearly not the behavior of a subordinate ally to a big brother ally. For example, spying on the country that makes your economy and your defense possible, which the Israelis have been doing for generations. That's a fact. One of them very famously was caught, Jonathan Pollard, who's an American citizen, taking real secrets, like actual military secrets, and sending them to Israel, which promptly sent a bunch of them to the Soviet Union, which was our arch rival, our foe at the time. And that happened, and he went to prison, and then somehow he got out of prison and went to Israel, where he continues to denounce the United States. And anyone who says anything about it is attacked. Oh, you're an anti-Semite. Well, it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. That's insulting. Why would we ever put up with that? Why would we put up with the attack on the USS Liberty that everyone's so afraid to talk about, clearly targeted on purpose by a country we're supporting, Israel? And it's somehow shameful to say that? Why? Why is it shameful to say that? Who knows why it's shameful to say that, but it shouldn't be. And until we have some self-respect, not anger or hate, but just dignity, it will continue in June.
I do really love what Tucker's saying here about dignity. I love that he's turning the framing back on ourselves. There's plenty of blame to go around, and it's really easy to blame the perpetrator, the person that you perceive as persecuting you or controlling you or doing whatever. But ultimately, the solution is on us. And so ultimately, the blame is on us. And that is a very healthy and productive way to look at a problem, whether you like it or not. But I did just want to note some other documents that I pulled up here while he was talking. Is if we're going to be talking about examples of Israelis spying on the U.S., we didn't really get to have a September 11th this year because someone shot Charlie Kirk. Someone. And had we had September 11th, we would have been talking about these FBI files where a series of moving companies were set up by Israel, or rather by Israeli nationals that happened to be ex-Mossad, ex-Unit 8200, ex-Israeli military, demolitions experts, all kinds of stuff. Okay, I just got to use the trackpad. And they had all these moving companies that were doing sketchy things. A bunch of them were taking photos of the towers. They got noticed, caught, arrested, and investigated. And there's all of these documents. And this is I think this might be the original Free Speech Friday, is we went through every single page of these documents, one at a time, looking at all the little notes, looking at what they show you. Very interesting set of documents. And a really fascinating mystery and tragedy that hopefully one day we get a little bit of resolution on. But there are numerous examples. Tucker cites Jonathan Pollard. There are numerous examples of Israel spying on America. Like, what do you think the over-under is that they're doing it right now at this very moment?
For example, during the 12-day war, such as it was with Iran, the U.S. and Israel versus Iran, bombing on all sides. They're from other countries, British, but there are a bunch of Israeli Defense Force officers in the Pentagon that week. And during that week, ask anyone who works at the Pentagon, they enraged American Pentagon staff by just barging into meetings, giving orders, making demands, and nobody did anything about it. How can a foreign military officer barge into...
This is one of the things I love about Tucker, is that he's so connected that he'll drop like spicy leaks and information that is breaking news, as though he was like just chatting over coffee with you about what happened last week for him, because we didn't know that. And that's really significant, that there's military members of a foreign nation walking into our Pentagon, into our military leaders' meetings, making demands of them. That is not surprising, let's say. I can actually picture exactly how it went. I'm imagining Ben Shapiro in my mind. Maybe with a little bit of Rabbi Shmuley on the side. But that's good to know. Thanks, Tucker.
Military headquarters, even if invited, but barge into a meeting and start demanding, we want this, we want that, you need to get on this. Huh? The more you allow that kind of deeply unhealthy...
I actually skipped over the part where he talked about the USS Liberty, too. Tucker's getting in on the USS Liberty now.
...behavior, the more you're going to get. And that's exactly what has happened. Because of the weakness of our leaders, we have incited predators in a foreign country to take advantage of us. Oh, that's such an anti-Israel thing. It's not anti-Israel at all. It's a demand that the people...
I mean, because of the weakness of our leaders, yeah, like, yes. But the problem is a little more generational than that. That's not really... Like, the problem's been going on for a hot minute. And the infiltration is a multi-decades long program. It's not just our leaders. It's our open society being taken advantage of. It's not just, Israelis in the Pentagon. It's also Israelis in the tech industry. It's also Israelis in the banking industry. It's also Israelis just in NGOs and foundations and just subverting and espionaging in all these crazy ways. The influence on America has grown piece by piece by piece by piece in so many more complex ways than just the weakness of our leaders. I like that it's time for us to take responsibility for it and have the conversation, but boy, is how we got here a complicated story.
Whose job it is, whose sacred duty it is to defend and represent us, our leaders, both at the Pentagon and all throughout the U.S. government, that they do that they stand up and defend us against all potential threats, against all foreign countries to the extent they need to, and that they do not prostrate themselves before a foreign nation. That's just basic. Why have a government? Especially a strong government if it's taking orders from another weaker government. And that is the state of play. And it has been for a very long time. And they're not even pretending to such a...
Do you think Tucker has notes that he's going off of? Because he's not using a teleprompter. I wonder if he has notes. He kind of glanced down
an extent that the prime minister of Israel goes on television to openly participate and meddle in internal American politics, taking sides.
All right, this part's really big. This is, and I'm sure you've seen this clip, but this is like the first crux. And we're going to be building, we're not just going to be talking about the state of play and what's going on right now, but we're going to be talking about what's coming next. And this clip right here is a big piece of that conversation.
Attacking people, Americans, you wouldn't think it would be his business. He's not an American leader. He's not even an American citizen. Going on television to attack Americans because they're not fully on board with sending billions more to a country of 9 million people. And in case you think that's an overstatement, here is the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, commenting on American politics.
He talked about the woke right. He said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant. The woke Reich, because these people, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane.
So this is Bibi speaking with a bunch of American social media influencers, just to clarify. This is him having what should be essentially a clandestine meeting with American media figures, telling them how to think.
But they're actually meeting on some of the things. We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. And the most important ones are social media.
Use the tools of battle. We are going to have to fight back. The words he's using, the verbiage. We're going to have to use the tools of battle. And the most important weapon?
The most important purchase that is going on
What's the most important purchase going on, Bibi? Tell us.
Followers.
By the way, what a fucking prick. As a former teacher, I hate it when people do the dumb teacher thing of like, okay, adults, let's pretend you're 4, and I'm going to cue you to give you exactly the response that I want you to give me. What's the most important purchase that we're doing right now, class?
The most important purchase that is going on right now is...
to be fair, though, they kind of deserve to be treated that way.
Class?
He literally said class.
TikTok, number one.
So, as your favorite anti-Semite that was telling you for years that is what is going on with TikTok, you're welcome. We've known this the entire time. Because when TikTok first came under fire, what was done was Project Texas, which gave control over the algorithms and the data centers of TikTok to Oracle, Larry Ellison. He's going to come back up. It was about Israel all along. It was never about China. No one gives a shit about China. The U.S. isn't worried about China. The Jews aren't worried about China. The ADL isn't worried about China. It's about Israel.
Number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one? That's most important.
But like, just think about what that means. Why would the foreign leader of another country want to buy our kids' most popular social media app? What could that possibly mean, right? The only way that that's going to affect the war effort, logically, and you don't need me to explain this, it's so obvious. The way that TikTok affects the effort is by controlling the brains and minds of young people, by controlling the information that Americans are allowed to see on behalf of this dickhead's foreign nation. Okay?
X.
Oh, and now we're going to come for X too. Let's go. Let's take them all down.
We have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him.
Elon, you better get Saluti again, dude. We need you, bro. It's time to pull out the Roman and hold the line, dog. I don't want to see any more Elon Auschwitz tours. I don't want to see Elon wearing a yarmulke. I don't want to see Elon kissing the wall, dog. We need you. You're well, you're not American, but you're standing with Americans, and we love you for it. Hold the line, Elon. We've got your back if you've got ours. We need X. X is a piece of shit, and I hate it. It's a total shithole with just a bunch of vitriol. It's just a bunch of fighting, but at least it's mostly free speech fighting.
Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot, and I could go on.
I mean, on my 40-hour drive, I did have like a literal 17-hour space with like Maze and Ryan, and a shout out to all y'all folks about Israel. We literally talked about Israel. I drove like for about 2,000 miles while we talked about this whole thing. I took a 2-hour nap at like 5 a.m, woke back up. They were still on it, and I got back in, and we had a space like all morning long.
Things, but that's not the point right now. We have to fight the fight.
He keeps saying fight, war, weapons. He's not keeping it secret. They're fighting 7 actual wars right now with actual countries, with actual bombs. And the 8th front is the information war. And they are openly talking about how they plan to buy social media platforms in order to control the information and ideas that young Americans might have access to and think and talk about. It's going to include censoring their speech. Obviously, it already has. I'm already getting videos taken down. People are already getting banned. Strikes are already coming out. But it's not just purchasing of social media apps. It's also paying social media influencers in America, Americans, to spread their foreign propaganda. That's a FARA violation. At least it should be. All of those social media influencers that are shilling for Israel and receiving a single dime for it should be registered under FARA. Okay?
It's unbelievable that he said that on camera.
It is.
Imagine.
It is.
This is a foreign leader bragging about how he's censoring Americans. Again, this guy runs a country of 9 million people that's totally dependent on our tax dollars to exist. And here he is on camera, and he's a sophisticated guy. Of course, he knows that he's being filmed, saying, anyone who opposes me in the United States, who opposes more aid to Israel or opposes getting sucked into war with Iran, which does not serve American interests, that person is not simply mistaken or wrong. I'm not going to bother to explain why that person is wrong. That person is a Nazi, part of the woke Reich, a Nazi.
I mean, Tucker, we love you. But honestly, if we're going to Free Speech Friday about it, no one really fucking cares about Nazis anymore. Realistically. Like, personally, I think that the Nazis were largely in on a pretty shitty cult. I don't presume that the entirety of the Nazi belief system was great, but I don't really give a shit. Like, you can call me a Nazi. Do not care. No one cares. It's actually kind of funny. If you go on TikTok, the platform that they're trying to buy up, where all the kids are doing their kid shit, the kids are all making Nazi jokes. And you can call that unfortunate. You can say that's a bad thing. You can say that's like some terrible, tragic downfall of our society, and it's so anti-Semitic and hateful. Or you could realize that you're trying to project your singular worldview, your worldview onto like the whole youth, onto the collective hive mind of young Americans, and say that you know more than them, maybe. And B, you're kind of out of touch because it's not so serious, right? And part of why it's not so serious is because you've been calling us things like Nazis and woke Reich and the woke right and all this like anti-Semites and blood libelists and hateful things. You've just been using up all the names, and you've called everybody Nazi too many times. And we all know that no one's really a Nazi anymore because we don't have Mustache Man, and no one's like going to global war for the Aryan race. There's no fascism, no National Socialism going on, right? So you can't really be a Nazi in that regard anymore, even if you wanted to be. But it is neat how Hitler is more popular than Benjamin Netanyahu now, right? So bummer for Benji that he's got his cute names, but they're really not going to do anything. And this platform that he's trying to buy up is actually full of funny memes of like 17-year-olds reading Hitler speeches and like 17-year-olds like making Hitler jokes, not in the negative, right? And that's your fault. That's Benji's fault. That's the Israelis' fault. They're the boy that cried Nazi. And now everyone's becoming Nazis. And it's not like I'm joking, obviously. Like no one's actually a Nazi these days. But everyone's a Nazi these days, apparently. So why not lean into it, right? So this is where Tucker's elder age comes along with the baggage of living in the world where Nazis were a more serious thing, where they were a more present piece of history and where it was more unthinkable to have this conversation. But like the kids growing up these days, they've been listening to Nick Fuentes for like 4 years, right? Kids these days are they say unreal shit to each other. They say things that like will burn your eardrums out that you would never think a 14-year-old would even know about, let alone say out loud, okay? No one gives a shit about Nazis anymore, right?
And the only way to fix it is by preventing Americans in the last country on earth with guaranteed freedom of speech, prevent Americans from hearing the other side. And so we push Congress to force a TikTok sale, which is true, by the way. And when that happened, and various members of Congress were like, no, really, it's about China. There were people online who said, no, I think it's really about Israel. You kind of wish it was about China.
Yes, you're welcome. Yours truly. Not the only one. There's lots of us saying it. But it's worth noting that everyone that said that I was making shit up for saying that the TikTok thing was all about Israel, they were calling me a Nazi and an anti-Semite and all these other things, despite the obvious evidence, despite Jonathan Greenblatt himself saying we have a major, major, major TikTok problem. We all know what's going on out here.
Here he is just admitting, no, we push the U.S. Congress to censor in the United States, to commit censorship in the United States because we think it's bad for us. And we need to talk to Elon. The only reason we have free speech in the United States right now is because of Elon Musk. By the way, a naturalized American, a foreigner, who looked at the United States and said, what's great about that country? People can say what they believe because they're not slaves. They're not subjects of the state. They're citizens of a nation that they own. Free speech is central to the entire idea of America. In fact, it's really the only thing that sets us apart from any other country on earth. It's not our market economy. It's freedom of speech.
Facts.
And
Tucker.
here's this guy, a foreign head of state, who, let me restate, is totally dependent on our tax dollars to exist, is saying Americans don't have that right, and he's going to do some kind of secret pressure campaign on Elon Musk to censor X because it bothers Israel. You know, that's the point at which you just say no. Absolutely.
Correct, Tucker. That is the point at which you say no. Fortunately, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's kind of heads, we win, tails, get fucked, BB. Because have y'all never been around kids before? Have you never raised a child? I guess Benjamin Netanyahu has raised a small human-like form, Yair Netanyahu. Not sure about the humanity of that one. But if you're not aware, Benji, and all the rest of you, when you tell a kid that they're not allowed to do something and you don't give them a reason, or better yet, you give them a fucking dumb reason that they can see through, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go behind your back. They're going to find a way to do it. They're going to rebel. They're going to get real creative within the boundaries that you set for them. So go ahead. Take TikTok away. Take the watermelon emoji away. Ban the juice box emoji. Oh no! What are we ever gonna do? The kids will never think an anti-Semitic thought again if you ban the juice box emoji, obviously. It's like, dude, seriously, the boomerness of this strategy is just so out of touch. Like, yeah, if you had control over X before Charlie Kirk got shot, that would have made a real impact on how much we all would have known about what really is going on with the investigation into Charlie Kirk. For the hard information, the hard data, the sharing of ideas in complex ways, yes, they can impact that a lot by shutting down free speech. But the sentiment, the emotions, the rising tide of these kids that are Nazis, no, you're just going to accelerate that shit, dude. You are just going to push that right along. Because guess what? All those anti-Semitic Nazis on the internet, they've been saying for a while that the Jews control the media. You know what you should do, Benjamin Netanyahu? You should go and brag about how you're going to buy up their favorite social media platforms so that they can't speak about you. That'll show them, you dumb bitch. Like, what? What are you doing?
Absolutely not. That is not allowed. But since no one has said that, it has continued. And that's why when you go on social media, you see
I thought he talked about Megyn Kelly here. I think he talked about
person
Megyn
after
Kelly here in
person
a second.
taking that guy's line. That guy's line. Repeating foreign government talking points on social media as Americans. Oh, you can't say that. It's true. It's 100% true. And it's also totally counterproductive, by the way. This is not a sophisticated.
What's the name of the woke right guy again? The guy that like made up that phrase, who's like kind of pretty pudgy in the face and like no one. James Lindsay. There's the new one for you. The woke right. Feel free to take it. Run with it. Bring it on, James.
Propaganda campaign. This is a brutal and brutish propaganda campaign where anyone who disagrees with anything is immediately slandered and smeared. Megyn Kelly, who's got to be the single most moderate person on the question of Israel, who said 100 times and means it, by the way, I like Israel.
I mean, I wouldn't call Megyn Kelly moderate. I would call her Zionist. Moderate would be like, I can't think of a moderate on the Zionist question. Moderate would be like diligent. Moderate would be like Tim Pool if you sliced off all the goy slop and all the fake rebellion. I don't know. There's not really any moderates. Moderate would be like you don't care either way, which is a very anti-Semitic thing to say, by the way. But like Megyn Kelly is a Zionist. She's like the Zionist.
I'm not against Israel. But maybe it's not a great idea to get sucked into one of their wars. We've done that. Let's not do it again. Nazi! Immediately called her an anti-Semite and won't stop. Meanwhile, the actual anti-Semites, and there certainly are some online, never get criticized by Bibi or anyone else in his orbit. That's kind of...
I like what Tucker's doing here. A little shady. He's kind of talking about Nick Fuentes, I think. But he is pointing out an interesting fact that the actually like anti-Semitic people, so to speak, like the people that are actually like it's all the Jews. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are getting censored like crazy, but like I don't think they're getting censored like crazy. I don't know. I guess they're not really allowed on like the big sites like YouTube. Maybe. But yeah, actually the stronger attacks come against people like Tucker, people like Charlie Kirk or Megyn Kelly. The people that have traditionally actually been very moderate, very Zionist. And there's a reason for that. He also points out in sort of subtle terminology that there's some astroturfing going on. There's probably a whole bunch of fake accounts spraying fake swastikas on the side of their houses, metaphorically speaking. There's probably a couple bad actors in the far right being anti-Semitic, playing the frame game, you might say, infiltrating the anti-Semites in order to manipulate the sentiment or what have you.
Kind of interesting, isn't it? I wonder why that is. When you have actual anti-Semites, doing videos making fun of Auschwitz.
Which, by the way, is protected by the First Amendment. That's the whole point of the First Amendment. And I know that Tucker would agree with me though he despises that type of speech. And honestly, I get kind of annoyed by that kind of speech too, like by the people that like are so into the Jewish thing that it's like you can't have a complex conversation with them. It can get a little annoying. But that's the whole point of the First Amendment, is to protect speech that you don't like. That's why we've got it.
But they get a pass?
Go away.
Maybe things are not quite as they seem. But normal people who harbor no hate toward anyone or try not to are immediately slandered in a way that makes it, in some cases, hard for them to have jobs if they deviate even a little bit. So what's the effect of this? Not that it's up to me to tell Israel how to run its propaganda campaigns.
There's a subtle dig there. That was a good dig. So I don't know if he mentions Megyn Kelly again or not. I'm tired. But he mentions Megyn Kelly, and it got me thinking that I have not seen this footage from the most recent TPUSA event where Megyn Kelly apparently had some questions given to her from the kids. And I thought we should look at it. So I hunted it down, and I skipped ahead to, I guess not technically the first questioner. She does like a whole speech. I mean, they've got all their intro stuff. And this video, Forbes breaking news. This clip from Forbes was posted 8 days ago. I'm pretty sure this event was like a week ago or like 2 weeks ago now, a little less. So this is the second question. I guess we should probably, keep it real and see what the first question is.
This is making you talk like. Funny. So I do work out. Only twice a week.
Okay, so it's some chick asking her about how she stays so fit. Right on.
Order. My Starbucks order. All right, so it's a trick answer.
Her Starbucks order. Come on, ladies. Let's ask some real effing question, women. You're not beating any stereotypes right now, women. Oh, gosh. Come on, women. Hold it together.
Hey, nice to meet you.
By the way, I'm making jokes. I'm being a dick, okay? So this is the third question. We've got a guy, and he's got a real question for her.
I do disagree, I think, with some of the things that you have said, but I also disagree with some of the things that have been said about Israel in regarding to what Candace Owens has said, what Ben Shapiro has said. But I feel like I do agree with you in the some that you sometimes will take a more nuanced approach and criticize them or agree with them. But I wanted to ask, I disagree with the Republicans. I feel like they're being vague about Israel. And so I wonder if places, I'm asking for specific people, do people like Bill Ackman, Robert Shillman, or AIPAC, are they influencing American politicians? Are they influencing?
How old do you think this kid is? If you had to guess. Do you think he's older than 20? He might be. He might be like 21, 22, 23. But he might be like 16 or 17. It's hard to tell from his face. This kid he gets it. He's talking about specific names. He's clearly following the story. He clearly is like, he clearly knows what's going on out here. This is the Turning Point USA youth. This is Charlie's base. These are the kind of questions that are getting asked at Turning Point events of their star guests. And Megyn Kelly, they're star Zionist. They're, without Charlie, Megyn is kind of the one.
Popular
So let's see how she answers this question.
YouTubers, are they influencing people like Fox News? And God forbid, are they influencing our president and the decisions that are made?
You might be doing.
I appreciate your face, bro, whoever you are. The urgency on his face is something that I miss. We get jaded a little bit as we grow up and we learn more about the system and we spend time marinating in all the evil going on here and all the corruption. And I miss the days when my face did that when I read about Israel's crimes. So I appreciate bro for being real.
The one person in America that agrees neither with Ben Shapiro nor with Candace Owens. I don't understand where you are. So I don't know what the answer to that is, whether Bill Ackman is influencing President Trump on Israel.
Avoid.
And I think President Trump, especially in foreign policy, has come to his own conclusions. Look what he just said about Ukraine
Avoid.
yesterday. He suddenly flipped a switch and he was like, I think they can win the whole territory back. What? And then some, he said. Wait, what? Trump is actually, you can see his evolution as he deals with foreign policy. And that's a job of one, really, right? Because the commander-in-chief's going to have to make a lot of these calls that are going to get people killed. His goal is to stop killing people and to save lives, which is really laudable. So I think Trump is making his own decisions on Israel. I think Trump is very pro-Israel, very pro-Israel. Now, I would say Trump and I have the same position when it comes to Israel. We're on Israel's side. However, having said that, Trump said this a year ago, and I said this thereafter. It's time to wrap it up. It's time. It's been too long, and Israel is losing the support of its closest ally and most important ally in the world, and that's us. They've already lost the Dems, they've lost the independents, they've lost Republicans under 30, and they're starting to etch away at Republicans over 30, and that can't happen if Israel wants to maintain its standing in the world. So that's my...
So that's the main Zionist at Turning Point USA now, saying you got to wrap it up, and you're losing your support. You're losing everyone. You're losing all the people, not just the young people. You're losing the old people too. If that's what Megyn Kelly's saying on stage, just wait until Tucker Carlson headlines the next event. Like what? We'll look for one more question.
Real fast, quick follow-up. Thank you. Do you think rich billionaire Jews or the Israeli government influences America politics?
See, the kids don't care about the speech. They're just trying to have a real conversation. The rich billionaire Jews are up to some shit, okay? And the kids would like to know what the rich billionaire Jews are up to, whether it's a blood libel to ask that question or not.
American politics.
Did you say rich billionaire Jews?
Dude, she's with it. He just blew her brains out. Because these older folks, they can't even comprehend. His face is all embarrassed now. But like, look, one frame before, his face was urgent.
Billionaire Jews or the Israeli government influences America politics.
That face right there, that's the face of a young person that cares about something that is wrong. Right? That's the face of my country is being taken away from me. And I want an answer to this fucking question. Where's our future that we were promised?
Rich billionaire Jews? Whoa.
And you're like, yeah. What are you going to do about it?
I don't like when people call Jewish people Jews after the word billionaire. It sounds kind of uncomfortable.
Ooh, it is uncomfortable, isn't it? It's uncomfortable to talk about the nature of the game of, like, sorry, this is the world. Who do you think is at all the banks? Bro, it's like it's not all Jews, but an awful lot of the billionaire Jews happen to be at the banks.
Makes me feel uncomfortable. Hell, why not? If you're a rich billionaire, whether you're a Jew or you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, why wouldn't you try to exert your influence? I mean, that's what they all do. They all try to buy the president. All of them. One of the reasons
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
Trump got elected was because he had independent money and he promised us that he wasn't loyal to anybody except for us.
He said that. Like, he said that. But I mean, look around. Look around you, eh? I like this guy. This kid's cool.
And we believe that promise. And so far, I feel like he's done pretty well on it. Hi there.
Hi. I just wanted to know, because I feel like we live in a world that's full of a lot of hate right now, how I, as a Christian conservative woman on a college campus, can love and show compassion to people who don't agree with me and, quite frankly, hate me. Because it's scary to walk around and feel secure in my beliefs when I know that people want me to, die for what I believe in.
Well,
okay. I was worried that the third woman was going to come with another like woman question that was like, do you paint your nails? That's a great question. That's a very feminine question. I'm not going to get into male-female roles and all this shit, but that not like a policy question, not like a statistics, not like a are the Jews ruling the world question. The boys got that one. But that's a very important question. Right on, girl.
Well, I would say first and foremost, having your frontal lobe, a woman named Erica Kirk. Have you ever seen such a showing of strength and compassion?
Oh, Erica
and
Kirk.
Christianity in one. I mean,
okay.
Girls down.
I just want to see. I want to skip ahead to the next question and just see if she's getting a total like onslaught here.
I'm a huge lefty. I love Joe Biden. I was one of the.
Welcome here anyway.
I was one of the 50 to 100 people at his rallies back in the 2020 COVID era. And I
really
just wanted to ask about your thoughts on Barack Obama. He's like my favorite president of all time. I think he was great for this country. It was really nice to see a beautiful black man in the office. And where would you rank him among like modern U.S. presidents? Where would you put him?
I'm confused.
Sorry, I didn't hear the land.
Next.
Vice president. Did not out that said do legal cases. And I was a lawyer, practiced law for 10 years.
If you want to know about Barack Obama, just search Obama, Citibank, Cabinet, Wall Street on Parade.
Before I went into journalism. Take legal those.
On Yippee, and that's a Christian-based, app, so she can watch TV and everything. But I have a question on, we pray morning, eating, mid-afternoon, we do scripture, and we pray at night. But at the same time, I don't want to, brainwash her and make her feel as she gets older that I'm just shoving it down her throat.
Even from,
How to raise kids with faith.
Co-founders of the Turning Point chapter at JMU.
Right on. All right.
I'm pretty sorry. I'm shaking. I'm so nervous. So I work at school, and
they're not going to ask about Israel. We can already tell.
And I work under and with mainly a lot of people who disagree with my values and beliefs. And I've never really spoken about it in front of them just for the sake of keeping the peace and the friendships. since starting this chapter, I've received a lot of like different treatment from those people at work, indirectly mostly. However, recently discussed that. So just like dealing with all of this at work, what is your advice on moving forward with this?
Well, I mean, I'm not trying not to swear, but F these people. It's normal, and I will help find you a job.
And to be clear, I want to clarify. I'm like being snarky about Megan. Ton of respect for Megan. She's given great answers. She's super smart. She's super well informed. Highly respect what she's doing here and the conversation she's having with these kids. Just because I'm being snarky and making jokes does not mean that I think Megyn Kelly's a shill or a bad person or anything like that. Okay, totally great answers, and she's totally a good leader for these young women. That we need good, strong, intelligent females to lead our next generation of women.
You start speaking here, and people hear you espouse the idea, and they're like, you know what, that's my belief too. And right, TikTok alone, right? Because they hate our X any day of the week. People hear you espouse the idea, and they're like, you know what, that's my belief too. And you don't have to trust Megyn Kelly about this. Go on X any day of the week. I know you're all young. Do you guys go on X?
Go on X. See what you find. You might not find what Megan is thinking about.
Okay, you're not stuck on TikTok alone, right? Because they hate our people. But go on X any day of the week, and you will see the sea of video.
Wait, who hates our people on TikTok, Megan? Who at TikTok hates our people? Right?
Coming. I just booked family dinner for not being vaccinated, and I originally told
because Marl said,
all right,
absolute baloney, and I'm doing well, aren't I? I want to speak.
The Epstein files should be released.
Hey, let's go.
Yes, I think the
this girl's holding it down. This chick is real, dog. Sign her up. She's dropping heat. Bring the Epstein files.
Epstein files should be released.
So now we have. What do we have so far on this stage? We have wrap it up, BB. We have you're losing all of your support. America is turning on you, including me, Megyn Kelly. We have I believe the Epstein files should be released.
Politics, and it really doesn't work when it's something this, well covered. So thinkers, which they also moved on because we have a lot more important things to discuss.
Guests like Bishop Robert Barron and Father Michael Schmitz. My question is, seeing you re-engage with your faith, has that made you reconsider your position at all on IVF over the last year since the Alabama court case? I know that you've been very public.
Interesting. A very soft-spoken man asking about IVF. We're not going to go through the whole thing. I was just curious because I had heard that she got bombarded by questions about Israel and the relationship and all that. And I mean, there is more. I wish we had the time and attention span to go through all these other questions. I'll probably do that tomorrow and see if anyone asks her more specific pointed questions about Charlie Kirk, which is a touchy topic. It's not like they should be asking her about that. That is very sensitive. He's one of her closest friends. But I wanted to look through that to point out what the TPUSA movement is, what the TPUSA youth is, how diverse these opinions are, and how these kids think. And remind us all that TPUSA is not composed of its leadership. TPUSA is composed of its constituents, right? The leadership are just trying to shepherd all of these young sheep towards wherever they're trying to go. And theoretically, that is towards American values, Christian faith, freedom of speech, open debate and dialogue, political engagement and action, the Constitution, America, right? America first. America only, you might even say. Ideally, that's what the leadership is trying to steer them towards. But ultimately, the shepherd's only going to be able to herd those sheep so far. And those sheep are, and I'm not saying that the kids are all sheep. They're way smarter than sheep. In many cases, I think the kids are smarter than the leaders. And the kids have questions. And, I mean, there's a lot of speculation right now about what's up with Erica Kirk, about what's up with Turning Point USA, what's up with the weird statements coming out from Andrew Colvett, what's up with the radio silence about Candace Owens' investigation. And no one really knows where Turning Point USA stands, where Erica Kirk stands. And I can't help but feel like that's intentional. If Erica Kirk is a secret like Mossad, CIA, deep cover plant that was like a honeypot operation that was always working against Charlotte, like just for this moment, if it's like really that bad out here, then we're going to have a crazy couple years at Turning Point USA. I don't suspect that is necessary. I doubt that's the case. Possible. Keep your eye on it. Go down the rabbit holes if you want. But I don't think that's the most likely scenario. And if it's not the most likely scenario, then what is? What's the other scenario? The other scenario of why is Erica Kirk radio silent on the investigation and on Candace Owens? Why is TPUSA not condemning any of the conversation, not coming out about anything? They're also not releasing any video footage or anything. They're not releasing the footage that would shut down all the speculation and give us clear answers. To me, it sounds like an internal power struggle. Because Turning Point USA was built by the donor money, by the billionaire Jews' donor money, for lack of a better term. Right? That just is the truth. Jewish billionaires built this giant grassroots youth organization in the conservative side of America with Charlie Kirk as the tip of the spear. But they built it with their money. And based on how they treat people like me on the internet, people like Tucker on the internet, people like Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk on the internet, when they say a single bad thing about Israel, do you really think that those billionaire Jews are going to let their gigantic edifice that is Turning Point USA be taken in this other direction of free speech, like freedom of speech? Freedom of speech? At our Turning Point? Excuse me. We built the Daily Wire. We built Turning Point USA. And they're damn well going to do their job. I can't help but feel like that is probably kind of the sort of the sentiment amongst the donor class that was pressuring Charlie. The donor class that apparently was withdrawing funding from Charlie, that was calling him an anti-Semite on X, that was having interventions with him in the Hamptons, and now is pretending to be his best friend. So keep your eyes out for that power struggle. Because the interesting thing about that power struggle is that we're about to have, there's these moments in history where young people get to see exactly how much power they have, and we all get to see if young people take the actions to step into their power on the public stage. And we are about to move into a year or two where the youth of Turning Point USA will decide the future of Turning Point USA. They'll decide if they continue to buy in or not. They'll decide if there's still soul at Turning Point USA, if the mission is still the mission that they signed up for. Because if it's not, they'll leave. That's the thing about this new media environment. They spent an awful lot of money on the Daily Wire. And now how many people are watching the Daily Wire? Sorry, Matt and Michael. You guys are great and all. But you're on a sinking boat. And it's kind of awkward to look at how many YouTube followers Ben Shapiro has and to look at how many YouTube views Ben Shapiro gets. Because if no one wants what you're selling, they'll just go somewhere else. It's not 1950 anymore. We got media all over the place. We got all kinds of organizations to be a part of. We got all kinds of things to do with our time. And if you don't keep Turning Point USA true to what these kids signed up for, they'll leave. Right? And so I'm on pins and needles. I'm waiting with eager anticipation to see what happens at Turning Point USA. What are the kids going to do? Because I think the kids have some questions. And Megyn Kelly did a good job of answering that question diplomatically. But I'm under the impression that Tucker Carlson is slated to be the keynote speaker of the next Turning Point USA event in December. And I have half a mind to go and see how that all plays out. We were told that allegedly Candace Owens was getting invited to Turning Point USA in short order had Charlie Kirk not been killed. He apparently wanted Candace back on stage. She even alleged that 2 weeks before he was killed, that he sent an internal memo around Turning Point USA saying that they are going to officially abandon their stance on Israel and open up the floor to true free speech again. And I would love to see proof of that. I mean, Candace Owens challenged TPUSA directly on camera in no uncertain terms to prove her wrong, to call her a liar, to show the evidence that that is not true. I suspect that she knows a lot, but doesn't necessarily have the screenshots to back it up. But maybe she does. I don't know. So, the state of play right now. Tucker Carlson is not just an ex-Fox News host. Tucker Carlson is a close friend of the president, a close friend of the vice president. He is probably ex-CIA and a close friend of all sorts of government contacts from that side of his life, a close friend of all these people that he met in his media career, and an enemy of many of them. And he knows a lot. But beyond that, he's a deep thinker, a highly respected individual by these people like Vance and Trump. I think at least Vance respects Tucker a lot. And I suspect that Trump does too. And Tucker coming out on this level of warpath, so to speak, it's not just representative of Tucker's opinion. It's not just representative of Tucker's decision making. I can't help but suspect that it is indicative of bigger moves beneath the surface. And it's about damn time. Let's be real. It's about damn time. And I appreciate the care with which Tucker is trying to engage in this conversation. And I appreciate the attacks and the trouble and the very real risk that Tucker is taking on by saying what he's saying right now. I say those kinds of things all the time, but it doesn't hold the same weight. It doesn't reach the same audience. And I don't take on the same level of risk for saying it as Tucker does. And Tucker's taking on very real risk. Because ultimately, if Tyler Robinson isn't the shooter, we're going to wind up at a scenario where the reason why Charlie Kirk was shot live on TV in front of thousands of people in public, giving a speech at his event, the most public form of assassination you could ever see, there's a reason why it was done that way. And it's to send a message. Obviously. I don't have proof of that. Like, you can't prove who wrote the notes on that page, but if you can read English, you could still read them, and you damn well would know what they meant. They mean, hey, all the rest of you, shut the fuck up and stay in line. Now, Tucker was already quite a ways out of line at that point, but I think we all know that Tucker is taking on a lot of risk. And even if you think that Tucker's this controlled opposition, even if you think that Tucker's this boomer shill, even if you think that Tucker's like CIA and he's like totally not, like whatever, you got to acknowledge that bro is taking on some serious risk and he's taking some serious steps and he's being very brave. And it's awesome. Huge respect. But, sorry, I'm really tired, so I keep forgetting where we're going with this. Right now, Larry Ellison is on a media rampage. He's buying TikTok. He got Paramount. He got CBS. He put Barry Weiss in charge of one of them. I'm not going to look it all up. The next phase is censorship. The next phase is all-out censorship blitz. That is what is coming. Okay? Think about it. Charlie Kirk was the free speech guy. Right? Charlie Kirk presented a lot of issues for the agenda right now by the powers that be. He basically single-handedly stopped further escalation of war with Iran, we found out, by literally barging into the Oval Office, having like kind of an intervention with Trump and speaking his mind in no unclear terms. Charlie Kirk is basically the reason why Vance and Trump made it into the White House. And he went in there and spoke his damn mind about war with Iran and probably got it shut down. So he stands in the way of war with Iran. He stands in the way of censorship, and he probably was going to be president. I mean, but we don't know why he was killed, obviously. We have no idea why he was killed. Probably just a lone nut. Probably no specific reason. But now that the free speech guy is out of the way, you know what's coming? Censorship on TikTok. Banning of accounts. Probably on YouTube as well. They're going to go after X. They're going to ramp up with the ADL. They're going to do everything they've got. Probably more that we can't even imagine. So prepare yourself. We are not in the easy part yet. We are not already decoupled. This is just getting started, and it's going to get way worse before it gets better. And I mean, call me a crazy conspiracy theorist, call me a blood libeling anti-Semite, whatever you want to call me, a woke Reichster. But let's just say that we have reason to believe that Israel has done a few false flags in the past. Dragged us into a few wars, done a couple terrorisms, maybe even on U.S. soil. And they're very keen on censoring your speech, telling you what you can and can't say. And you damn well better believe they're not going to go down without a fight. They're not going to let this decoupling happen under any circumstances. And so we are going to have the biggest censorship wave and push that you've ever seen. And we're probably also going to see a false flag or two. And we might see things even crazier than that. So just buckle up. Be wise. Be thoughtful. Be very careful. Engage with the internet in meaningful ways while you can. And don't give up, Don't give in to despair. Do not give in to hate. I'm loving Tucker's message, and it's one that I try to remind myself to be a little more like Tucker every day, because even though I'm criticizing and I've got other things to say about him and all that, he's really speaking to our better nature here. He's speaking to that Christian nature in us, that we can be a little better. We can be a little more tempered. We can be a little more thoughtful, a little more poised in our speech, in our engagement, in our dialogue. It matters a lot, because there is a very real risk of swinging too far to the other side. This decoupling does come with an awful lot of anti-Jewish sentiment that is not undeserved, but we desperately do not want it to swing into actual hatred and violence towards Jewish people, because that's how you perpetuate the cycle. That's how you perpetuate the Holocausting that we all learned about extensively in school. That's how you create more of this endless victimhood, right? We need to decouple in a way that you take the high road the whole way. Otherwise, you become just like the people that you are proclaiming to hate. Just like Israel is the reaction to the Holocaust, and here they are committing a genocide, trafficking children for sex, censoring speech, bombing hospitals, right? There's really not a lot of better tragic examples of becoming that which you proposed to fight against than Israel and the Nazis. So, I probably had more to say, but 2,600 miles or whatever will do a number on you. And I'm going to check in with y'all's super chats now. Where'd our supers go? See how many of you are in here. I've only got one screen up right now, 2 screens up. So right on, dude. We got almost 15,000 of you guys hanging out. We got a huge super way back at the beginning that my homie texted to me Stacy sent a $100 super. Thank you, Stacy. You're the bomb. Glad you made it home. If you decided to have a live outside talking points, let's do fundraiser to provide security. Houston, Texas. I do have some homies that run a security detail that I've worked with before. I don't know as I would need it, but we'll see. We'll think about it. Because hosting a spirited and genuine conversation outside of Turning Point USA would be badass. That'd be a lot of fun. So I'm going to look into it. No promises, but I'm going to look into it. All right. Let's okay, so the supers are lined up here. TKR, $20. Thank you for the super. Appreciate your dedication to truth. I still can't understand why Tucker denied knowing his dad was CIA till after his death. It's been debunked, and now he's who we're riding with. I keep thinking they are still 10 steps ahead. Here's my honest, just since it's Free Speech Friday and since I'm so damn tired, let's just be real about how we feel about Tucker, how I personally feel about Tucker. You can form your own beliefs. I suspect that Tucker Carlson was a CIA informant, asset would probably be the right word, in his past when he was younger. I mean, there's no world where, like, his dad was very successful and influential at the CIA. Running Voice of America is no small part of the success of the CIA in that era. His dad was a bit of a legend from everything that I can gather. And you're not flying around in helicopters in like Kyrgyzstan or Uzbekistan, like with a machine gun in the photo. Like, you're not traveling to like Botswana or Nigeria. I don't know where the hell he went, but you're not traveling the world with your dad on secret spy helicopters and shit and not getting groomed to be in the CIA, right? Like, Tucker Carlson has the exact pedigree, the exact grooming, his whole early life, his whole early career, like his 20s through his 40s or so, is the exact career that you would assign that kid as a CIA guy, right? But that being said, I think that there's this mindset that the CIA is like the Illuminati. And like, certainly there are breakaway splinter organizations within the CIA. There's lots of history of like small groups of rich and evil men in the CIA getting together and kind of making little walls of classification around their black budget programs and then just running off with some really fucked up ideas. But that's not the whole CIA, right? A lot of CIA officers are patriots that are doing what they think is right to help America. And I don't think it usually does help America, but that's beside the point. And so I suspect that Tucker has some history with CIA. And I don't know how nefarious that was. I don't know what the story is there. But regardless, like, he could have been a total saint. He could have just, I mean, he did shill for the Iraq War. But even if there's nothing nefarious there, he still would have to keep that confidential and keep that secret. And, you know, he would have to kind of like dance around that topic. And so he just got caught in a little white lie trying to cover up whatever that was, I think. And that does not immediately mean that Tucker's like one of the Freemason 33rd degree at the table at the Bilderberg. It's like, it doesn't mean that Tucker is like some evil mad genius. He is exactly who he looks like. He's a Christian man that wants Christian values in America and is speaking his mind. And he does, you know, he does play the game. He is very thoughtful about what he says, when he says it, how he says it, as he should be, right? But I suspect that if there's anything left of Tucker's CIA connections, I suspect that it sort of is like when 70-year-olds, he's not 70 yet, but, you know, like when the old guys get together and like smoke a cigar and like talk about the good old days and still sort of like think like where it all went wrong and where's the country going and you can see what he's doing. You can see Tucker's agenda right now. And it's like, maybe there's more agenda there. Maybe there's more secrets that he's going to, you know, pivot on. But like, ultimately what he's saying right now is what he's saying right now. And that's what's on the internet. And you don't have to worry so much, in my opinion, about like, is someone secretly have some agenda? Because like, maybe you do have an agenda, but what you're saying right now on the internet is having the exact effect that what you're saying right now has, right? If I come out and I say, hey, women suck, I hate women, all women suck, men only, let's all be gay, then you're gay, bro. Then that's what you're putting out there right now. If you start saying that like If you start shilling about how Israel's the greatest thing ever, that's what you're putting out right now. You can just judge people on the work they're doing right now, right? Tucker's coming out and dropping truth bombs. He's putting out a 9/11 series that I think is about to get to the dancing Israeli section. He's saying that we need to decouple from Israel. We need to register AIPAC, all these things. And that is, you can't take that back. If Mossad pays someone to say that, they paid someone to say that, and now it's been said, right? Just think critically about, like, what is the thing that's actually being put out there mean? And, like, I'm not worried about Tucker. But I do think that, you know, there's more to Tucker than we have been told. And I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. Lexi, thanks for the super. $10. You're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. We need you just like we do Candace. We all need each other, Lexi. We need you. We need all the rest of you. We need that kid at Turning Point. We need Megyn Kelly even. We need everybody. We need all Americans, all of us. Not all in one mind. We're not all going to agree. We're not all going to one thing at all. But, like, we need all of us respecting each other's decency, having conversations, putting America first. Wow, $50. Thanks for the huge super, Laura. Really appreciate you. How do we get you on Tucker's show? I'm sure it could happen at some point. I've spoken with Tucker a few times in private, but I'm not really. You don't force these things. It's not the time for me to go on Tucker's show, and when it is the time, I'll go, and I'm sure that he'll invite me. But Tucker speaks with a certain type of person, and at some point, what I'm doing at the time will align with being that type of person. But in general, like, it's not really necessary. I don't need to be on Tucker's show. Like, I would actually right now, I'd be far more curious to just go and like shoot guns in the woods with him and talk shit about like life and being a man in this industry and growing up and like how do you think of like a bunch of questions that like he's not really allowed to talk about on the air of like how do you strategize and what's the biggest mistakes you might make and how like, you know, I was just trying to like learn from him as a mentor a little bit. I'd be more curious about that right now than like going on his show. I don't need clout or anything. I don't need to like get views. I would just be curious to chat with him. And I'm sure I will at some point. So there's no rush. All in due time. That was my mindset about Joe Rogan too. And it just like that materialized exactly when it was supposed to. I think that people make this big whole like celebrity thing out of it. And it's like, he's just a dude trying to do his show and he's got stuff to do. And when it's time for me to talk to him, I'm sure he'll hit me up and that'll be cool. I do not know what's going on with these supers. Oh, there's the $100 one. That's epic. Marco, thanks for the super. Have you done a live on the Mexican president? Oh, a dive. Yes, I actually have on Claudia Sheinbaum. It was back when she was elected, and I don't remember all of it, but she is super sketchy. She's in with AMLO. Their take on the cartels is hugs, not bullets, as in basically let the cartel do whatever they want, and you don't want to mess with the cartel, because then they get violent, and it's really uncomfortable when the cartel gets violent, so we're just going to kind of appease the cartels. She is Jewish, Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, and a very, very, like, there's no Jews in Mexico. There's, like, way no Jews in Mexico. But that doesn't mean that Jews rule the world. It just means that they have the president of Mexico. And I remember looking into her relationship with Carlos Slim Domit, the former richest man in the world, the biggest banker in Mexico. But one thing I do recall for sure is that there was all these rumors and conspiracy theories when Claudia Sheinbaum got elected that was like the deadliest election in Mexico's history and all these politicians got assassinated and all the other people got assassinated and that's how she got in. That is not true. That was fake news. That was people skewing the reporting because in Mexico, people fucking get killed during every election season like crazy because the cartels are nuts. And none of the people, it was like, I'm going to make up numbers, but it was like 120 people, like politicians were assassinated, people in campaigns were assassinated during those elections or something crazy. Maybe it was less than that, but they were all people in other like local elections, like the gubernatorial race in Tijuana and like the city council in Mazatitlan, and none of them were presidential candidates. So there was a bit of like a runaway train of conspiracies around Claudia Sheinbaum in that election. Wow. Venator, thanks for the big super 50. NOK. I don't even know what NOK is. NOK currency. Norwegian kroners, dog. Let's go. We got people giving us kroners in here. Venator, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I appreciate you. Any comment on our bro Ashton? Not to put you on the spot, but now I'm thinking the whole thing of Mossad blackmail. Greetings from Norway. Yeah, Ashton Forbes, if you're not aware, he's the guy that does all the stuff about the plane that disappeared, Malaysia Airlines, MH370. And he's one of the few people I've ever interviewed on this YouTube channel, actually. And you can still see that interview up on this channel. And it was a great interview. And I really liked the guy. And he was a wonderful dude that was just all neat and really nerdy about his thing. And then just out of nowhere, bro's like, I don't know, like his womb ruptured, or like he got his period, or he got a bribe from Israel, and he just lost his mind after Charlie Kirk and started accusing everyone that has asked a single question about Charlie Kirk of being just like the most evil people ever. And he's like crashing out all over me. And it's a bummer, dude. It's a bummer. I hope he's okay. And I hope that he's not being emotionally manipulated by bad actors in order to heighten his emotional response, because that can go down a dark road if you're feeling like, yeah, he's been fighting hard to build his platform and to be successful in this industry, and that is a tough game to play. It's very frustrating. It can be very defeating. It can be very hard on your emotions and your soul. And so I worry that those feelings might be somewhere in there playing with whatever else is going on. And I hope that he's standing in his own truth and actually acting on his own beliefs. And if he really does believe what he's saying right now, I support Ashton Forbes to say exactly what he believes. And he can say that about me. He can talk all the shit in the world he wants about me. It is what it is. Jonathan P., thanks for the super. You, Candace, and Tucker are right. World War I hate led to World War II. Christian values of forgive bring a better world. Yep. That's the thing. That's the problem with growing up and having adults around that are smarter than us, is that it's always about taking the high road. God's side, Team God. This is true in every story you've ever read, every book, every movie, everything. This is the nature of reality. This is the nature of the human experience. The good guys, Team God, they don't get to use the tactics that the bad guys use. Because if you use those tactics, you're a bad guy. Right? So when you're young, it sort of feels like the good guys are at a disadvantage. When you're young and you don't really understand how this stuff works, it feels like the bad guys get to cheat and the good guys like don't even get to kill anyone. Like, why don't the good guys ever kill anyone? The bad guys are evil and they just do it. But as you get older, you realize that there's this immutable power on the good side. It's the truth. And when you're on the side of truth, it doesn't matter that you're not allowed to lie. It doesn't matter that you're not allowed to murder. It doesn't matter that you're not allowed to take the low road and to be jealous and to be mean and to be manipulative and conniving and deceitful. Because you don't need any of that. Because you got the truth. And not only does the truth hold immense power, but it also just feels good. It's just fun. It's just way better for your soul. You get to sleep at night. You get to breathe easy, be happy, love with your whole heart. And so, I don't know. It's important to take the high road. And there's some versions of that are obvious, that like, we're not going to start bombing kids just to stop, the Israel relationship thing here. But there's a lot of parts that are more subtle. Like forgiving people, like not letting it get under your skin when they call you names, like being gracious, like being careful with your words, like being willing to hear the other side if you say things that they don't hear the way you mean for it to come across, is like listen to how they, just like engage very fully, right? Because it matters, right? Even if it's not your perspective, it matters. Wow, Freddie, huge super. Thanks for the $50 super. Stay blessed and safe along with Candace, Tucker, Megan, and all speaking truth. Yup. Kazmira Flanagan, thanks for the big $50 super. I heard there was a pro-Israel clause in every U.S. state constitution. Did searches on 5 states, found it in 5 states. Worth looking at more. I haven't looked at that, actually. I'd believe it. One thing that I was talking with a bunch of homies about the other day is that a lot of the states are buying Israeli war bonds. And a lot of the money that we're sending to AIPAC, or to Israel, rather, the money that we send to Israel gets reported in strata, not all at once. And so a lot of people throw around numbers like $3 billion, sorry, every year goes to Israel. But that's actually only one of the bags that goes to Israel. There's also state money that goes to Israel. There's also cities that send city money to Israel. And then there's also war bonds that are getting bought. There's also gifts. There's all these other ways. And like, in order to actually figure out how much money we're giving to Israel, you have to go through these layers of obfuscated data that are purposely split apart so that it doesn't look like there's as much influence as there actually is. So yeah, I would not be surprised if there's stuff in the state constitutions, but I do not know that. Venator is dropping more Noke. Thank you. Well said. Yeah, I hope he gets paid at least. I'd hate if he's getting manipulated. Keep up the good work. Peace and love. I mean, if Ashton's getting those $7,000 checks per tweet, whatever it is, more power to him, dude. Get it, Ashton. Personally, I'm glad I'll pass, but hey, you, thanks for the $20 super. A lot of people probably join the CIA or become an asset because they've been manipulated with MK Ultra, just like most. They believe the CIA does good for America. Many of them eventually wake up. Tucker may be in that camp. I suspect he is. I really suspect he is. Not MK Ultra, but being, and it's like, you could say manipulated, or you could just say like grew up in a bubble, like grew up in, you know, the in crowd with that worldview, like with the mainstream worldview. So it is what it is. I think I'm reading supers backwards, so I'm going to try to get back to the beginning here because new ones keep coming in. And it's getting pretty late, guys. Honestly, I am so fucking tired. I'm not going to go through every single super tonight. I'm sorry. Okay, I already read that. How do we get you on Tucker's show? Stacy, thanks for the $100 super. Holy crap, you guys are wonderful. I really appreciate it. Great show. Do you ever know in advance when you will do lives or have other way to donate other than merch or X? You're doing a great job of donating as it is. And honestly, like, I really appreciate the donations. And it matters. It makes a big difference to donate like that. But no, I don't know what you mean by other ways to donate. I mean, I'm not really that concerned with taking money, honestly. I kind of don't give a shit about money, and I make more than enough off the views because I've grown big enough at this point that I don't need any more money. I mean, I need to get more serious about building a nest egg so that I can buy a house and raise a family and all that, and I am doing that, but it's not like wildly urgent. I'll be fine. So Stacy, you're a legend. Thank you for the support. And do I know in advance when I'm going to do lives? Usually, no, not really. And that's kind of why I like being independent. But Free Speech Fridays will be regular on Fridays in the evenings. And we're going to try to hone in on it being normally at around like, you know, what would it be? Candace. Yeah, she doesn't usually do a Friday show, actually. We'll probably normally do it around like 5 p.m.-ish, depending where I'm at, because I'm in different time zones all the time. But no, I kind of actually intentionally have built this platform so I can kind of do whatever I want whenever I want. And I know that's not your guys' favorite thing, but it's just how your boy Ian has always worked. And my mom will tell you that. And she would chuckle. So it's a good reason to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I'm going live. And I will try to get better at like posting them further in advance, but sometimes it's kind of fun to like drop it and just see if you're paying attention. Okay, I'm going to read like 4 or 5 more real fast. Brooks, thanks for the super. I could have bought 5 local Primo ribeye steaks with the money I've blown tonight, but BB has his orders. Oh, well. Good local premium steak is a great thing to spend your money on. That's how you make America great again. Signature Sounds, thanks for the super. Did you see maroon shirt shooter in the background of extended interview footage? Those students filmed at UVU. Looks just like him gazing at Kirk's setup from balcony with second guy in vest. Yes, I didn't go into it in detail, and I did not trust it to treat it as though it was fact, because I'm very skeptical of all the theories floating around. If I'm going to believe something or think something, I'm going to do the dig myself with the original video footage, think carefully about it. So it's possible and it's out there. I'm not really putting much stock into it. There's a lot of maroon shirts out there. So I'm trying to hone in on the pieces of the investigation that are the most concrete and then kind of work my way backwards from there. Desiree, thank you for this super. TPUSA, in my opinion, is playing defense, defending things that they shouldn't have to if the things being said didn't hold weight. Also, I just discovered you and appreciate what you're doing. Thank you, Desiree. I appreciate you. Welcome to the party. Be sure to think for yourself here. I don't know everything. I'm not always right. I'm not an expert. We're just here doing our thing. Brooks, thanks for the super. BB says he wants a refund. Yeah, it's a good thing he didn't pay me because he'd fucking need one. Vincent DeVecchis, thanks for the super. Pam Bondi said hate speech isn't free speech at Trump's AG. What the fuck? Yeah. Joined Ballard Partners 2019. Joined January 2025. ADL hires BP. July Anti-Semitism Awareness Act and Stop Hate Act. Also, you missed my first supers. Yeah, there's a lot of anti-free speech shit coming down the pipeline. That is the next battle. That is the next issue. Brooks, thanks for another super. Love you, bro. Pie Man, thanks for the huge $100 super. Chat, please spam for Ian to see my first super. NZ, how do I find your first super? It's not there. It is. Holy shit, Pie Man, you are a legend. From way down under. Ian, can I please have I have some of your time? I have emailed your Google address. Please check all folders to find. I have used the same few words so you can identify it's me. Please acknowledge you will, and then have seen is all I ask. The rest will be up to you. Yeah, I'll check the email. Just so you guys know, I don't really read emails. I get too many. I have, how many do I have right now? I have, oh, it's on D&D. I have to turn that off. I currently have 574 unread text messages because there's just too much incoming, and I'm trying to stay focused. But I will look for you, Pie Man, in my email. I'm not sure how I'm going to identify it, but based on what you say there, I'm sure I'll be able to find it. Don't know what's in it, but, whatever. Appreciate the huge supers. You're great. Clippy, SSBAFC, hustle your money. I don't know what that means, but I appreciate you. Jim Kerr, wow, thanks for the double super here. Keep up the good work and good vibes. Hello to your good doggy. Keep you safe. See, Kirk, I have a pic of outline of cross, diff, then official, common front vid, blood flows through hole in shirt before and below neck. Look, I think front shot hit across. Bro, if you have original footage that you filmed, upload that to the internet. Send that to Candace. Send that to me. Put that up in as high a quality as you possibly can and spread it around. We need more footage in its original form with metadata intact. Email that to tips@candaceowens.com. Please. And the other one, keep up the good work. Oh, no, that's the first one. That's the same one. Cool, same. Appreciate the vibes. Thank you, chat and Ian. Cool. That's it for tonight. It's 10 o'clock here. I'm so freaking tired. I've slept. My last 2 nights of sleep were in the front seat of my minivan, sitting up for like 2 hours at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning as the sun was rising. And then I just kept driving. So I'm going to go crash in bed now. But before we do that, we are entering into one of the most complex, dangerous times in our lifetimes. And it's super important that you do everything you can to get right with God, get right with yourself, get right with your family, and to fill your life with purpose. And the reason why I say that, not just because when your life is filled with purpose, you're doing things that will purposefully change the world for the better, but also, more importantly, actually, I think, is when you have purpose, when you're doing something meaningful, even if it seems little, even if it's like doing some art or making a garden or like writing love letters to some cute girl, whatever it is, if you are doing something that gives you a sense of purpose, you are so much more impervious to the emotional manipulation of these attacks, because almost all attack vectors require emotional manipulation in order for them to work. Because like ultimately sending words at us through the screen, sending videos at us, sending accusations at you, doing things through the digital is not, it's not easy to change people's minds, to influence their perceptions and beliefs and all that if you can't tap into their emotions. So put on the armor of God and get into your spirit and fill your life up with meaning so that you're impervious to emotional manipulation and emotional gaslighting and all of these attack vectors that they use, okay? Drink some water, eat some healthy food, tell someone that you love them.